September 25th, 2025. The southern Caribbean Sea shimmered under the late afternoon sun, calm on the surface but charged with tension below. At exactly 4:05 p.m. local time, inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Gravely, a radar operator froze mid-breath. A fresh contact had appeared on the SPY-1D phased array display. A small green echo at first, unremarkable, but its speed vector told a different story. This was no drifting merchant vessel. It was a Venezuelan patrol boat pushing west at a sharp angle, closing fast on the American destroyer. The report went out instantly. New surface contact bearing 211, range 29 nautical miles closing. On the bridge, officers stiffened. They knew the chart coordinates by memory. 30 miles off Venezuela's coast, outside territorial seas, inside international law, but squarely in a zone that had been simmering for weeks. Just 3 weeks earlier, U.S. forces had destroyed Venezuelan-linked smuggling vessels suspected of hauling synthetic opioids north toward Caribbean routes. The footage, flaming wreckage on open water, lit up the news cycle. Caracas answered with muscle. Naval patrols surged, jets buzzed destroyers, and commanders on state TV vowed to defend sovereignty. Now rhetoric had form. A steel hull, diesel engines, and a patrol ship charging across the horizon without a word. In the CIC, the logbook inked the numbers. Closest point of approach, 3 nautical miles. Time to CPA, less than 12 minutes. The number hit everyone like a hammer. 3 miles meant nothing separated discipline from collision, nothing between routine and crisis. The Gravely's captain wasted no time. Maintain ROE, systems on alert. Hail them now. The destroyer kept steady at 15 knots, through the sea with the weight of an Aegis-class warship. SPY-1D radar, vertical launch systems, more firepower than any regional navy could match. But none of that mattered in this moment. What mattered was the track racing toward them. CIC classified the contact. Sierra 214, profile matched a Venezuelan Guayquerí-class offshore patrol vessel. At 2,300 tons, it wasn't a toy. It was one of Caracas's largest surface combatants. Its AIS was silent, as expected from a military ship. But paired with an intercept course, it was alarming. The Gravely's officer of the deck radioed down. Confirm we're in international waters. The reply was crisp. 30 nautical miles from baseline, well outside territorial limits. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the law was on America's side. But legality never stopped steel from colliding. The first hail went out on Channel 16, English first. Unidentified Venezuelan naval vessel. This is United States warship operating in international waters. You are closing distance at high speed. Alter course immediately, no reply. The second hail followed, this time in Spanish. Still silence. And silence in naval encounters is more dangerous than hostility. At least hostility has a shape. Silence leaves only guesswork, and guesswork is deadly. Then came the next update. Sierra 214 increasing speed, 12 knots to 22. Intent appears deliberate. The captain stepped onto the bridge wing, binoculars raised to an empty horizon. Nothing yet visible to the naked eye, but radar painted the truth. DIC revised projections, CPA, 2.6 nautical miles, time, 7 minutes. The margin was closing fast, doctrine guided every move. Warn, show presence. Prepare. No improvisations. Electronic warfare brought the SLQ-32 online, logging every emission. If the Venezuelan radar so much as flickered into fire control mode, alarms would sound. Deck lookouts spotted faint exhaust haze, a funnel plume rising against storm clouds. Below deck, sailors whispered in the mess, pretending to eat while their ears strained for the general announcing system. Everyone knew what this meant. Silence on the radio. Speed increasing. This wasn't innocent passage. This was pressure. By 4:09 p.m., the standoff had transformed from radar tracks to a visible silhouette. Against the hazy horizon, lookouts aboard the Gravely made out the angular shape of the Venezuelan patrol vessel. Its bow cut hard across the swells, pushing its diesels to the limit, smoke trailing high into the humid air. CIC confirmed again. CPA now projected at 2.3 nautical miles. Time, under 6 minutes. The destroyer's captain understood the stakes. Every procedure drilled into sailors was about discipline under pressure, no rash moves, no sudden provocations, but also no room for hesitation. The order came down. Launch the Seahawk. On the stern, flight deck crews rushed into action. The MH-60R Seahawk, already prepped for contingencies, spun up with a rising whine. Rotor wash blasted salt spray across the deck as green-vested crew crouched low, signaling the pilots. At 4:11 p.m., the helicopter lifted off. Its twin GE engines roared, banking starboard into a wide orbit, deliberately outside the Venezuelan ship's line of advance. Inside the cockpit, pilots held steady, while the sensor operator powered the MX-20 FLIR turret. In the CIC, the feed bloomed across screens, infrared and video, geo-tagged and time-stamped. Every frame, every maneuver was evidence, not just for the captain's log, but for Washington and, if needed, the United Nations. Then came the next deliberate signal. From the Seahawk's nose, a bright green laser pulse splashed across the Venezuelan bridge windows. Not a weapon, non-lethal, unmistakable. A message: we see you, and we're watching. On the Venezuelan deck, sailors stiffened. Some huddled near the Otto Malera gun mount. Helmets on, binoculars raised. One man gestured broadly. Whether defiance or uncertainty, it didn't matter. Every movement was logged. CIC noted, personnel visible, gun covers removed, weapons not trained. Behavior assessed as posturing. Still, the tension mounted. The Venezuelan ship activated its own surface search radar, sweeping both the Seahawk and the destroyer. It wasn't fire control yet, but the line was razor thin. From the bridge, the captain's voice carried steady. Maintain orbit. No overflight. Document everything. The Seahawk banked wide, markings visible from every angle. Cameras rolled. Discipline was the weapon now. No shots fired, no provocations, just a professional presence, and the implicit weight of overwhelming power behind it. At 4:13 p.m., CIC updated again. CPA now 2.1 nautical miles. Time, 5 minutes. The Venezuelan contact held speed at 22 knots. Intent, unchanged. In the mess, sailors stopped pretending to eat. Forks hung motionless as the general announcing system echoed shipwide. Set condition 2. All hands remain alert. The hum of readiness spread from bow to stern. Then came the first real escalation. Venezuelan fire control radar flickered briefly across the Gravely. In an instant, alarms shrieked. CIC flagged it. Lock-on attempt detected. The SLQ-32 roared to life, recording, jamming, countering. On the bridge, the captain didn't flinch. Continue presence ops. Hold fire. Do not escalate unless fired upon. Discipline over impulse. Calm over chaos. By now, the Seahawk's cameras captured every detail of the Venezuelan deck. Crew clustered, weapons not yet manned, no missiles raised. Posturing, not prelude. But the line was paper thin. One mistaken turn of the helm, one misread maneuver, and international waters would ignite. At 4:15 p.m., the Venezuelan vessel blinked. Its wake shortened. The bow eased. Speed dropped, first to 20 knots, then to 18. Slowly, it shifted course starboard, no longer charging directly but sliding into a parallel track. CPA widened to 3.8 nautical miles. The first hint of de-escalation. Then the radio crackled. Spanish first, clipped and deliberate. U.S. Warship, this is Venezuelan vessel on sovereign patrol duty. We are operating near Venezuelan waters. The reply from the Gravely's captain was firm but measured. Venezuelan vessel, this is United States Warship Gravely. We are conducting lawful operations in international waters. Your unsafe maneuvers have been recorded. Silence followed. Not hostile, but final. The Seahawk circled one more time. Cameras trained on Venezuelan crew now stepping back from weapon stations. Posture visibly relaxed. The standoff was shifting. What could have been steel against steel was receding into a contest of nerves and documentation. At 4:17 p.m., CIC logged CPA increasing, contact altering course. The storm at sea was not of weather, but of will. By 4:18 p.m., the tension aboard the USS Gravely began to ease, but only slightly. The Venezuelan vessel had slowed, adjusted course, and widened its CPA. Yet in the eyes of seasoned officers, this was not retreat. It was maneuver. Shadowing, probing, testing the limits of American resolve. The Venezuelan Navy had no chance in a direct fight with an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, but that was never their strategy. They sought pressure, not victory. The captain ordered the Seahawk to maintain orbit a few minutes longer. From 800 feet up, the helicopter's FLIR turret kept recording every detail. Sailors milling about on the Venezuelan deck, a small group clustered near the forward gun, others peering upward at the circling helicopter. At times, they waved or gestured, unclear whether in mock defiance or simple acknowledgement. Every gesture mattered. For intelligence officers in Washington, even a sailor's posture could reveal doctrine. Aggression or caution, preparedness or bluster. The camera made no judgment, only evidence. At 4:24 p.m., the captain gave the order. Recover the bird. The Seahawk arced gracefully back toward the stern, its rotors thumping across the sea air. Deck crews moved into position, arms raised with glowing wands, guiding the helicopter down. The wheels kissed steel, rotors slowing, and the tension aboard Gravely began to settle into quiet vigilance. For the sailors below deck, it was the kind of encounter that defined modern naval service. Not a battle, not a war, but a razor-thin line of posturing and professionalism. In the mess, sailors leaned back from their trays, whispering about the contact. Too close. One wrong move and the sentence didn't need finishing. They all knew. At 4:26 p.m., the CIC reported CPA holding steady at 6.2 nautical miles. The Venezuelan vessel had fallen into a distant shadow, trailing Gravely but no longer pressing forward. Still, the destroyer's captain refused complacency. He knew this wasn't just about one patrol boat. It was about doctrine. Venezuela had been testing U.S. resolve for weeks. Overflights, close passes, aggressive intercepts. None carried the firepower to threaten an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, but each carried the risk of escalation. And escalation could spark consequences far beyond the Caribbean. The September 25th encounter wasn't a random skirmish, it was a deliberate signal. Just 3 weeks earlier, U.S. Southern Command had authorized kinetic strikes on Venezuelan smuggling vessels linked to narcotics trafficking. The images spread worldwide, flaming wreckage and sinking hulls captured by satellites and smartphones alike. In Caracas, state media branded it aggression. Venezuelan officials vowed sovereignty would be defended at all costs. The naval patrols that surged afterward were more political than tactical. They could not sink U.S. destroyers, but they could generate moments like this. Tense, dangerous, headline-grabbing. And the Gravely's response was equally deliberate. Every hail, every recorded radar pulse, every second of FLIR video was logged and transmitted back to Washington. The Navy's playbook was discipline, not aggression. Prove presence, document pressure, de-escalate without conceding. By 4:30 p.m., both ships held parallel courses, separated by 7 nautical miles. The tension had cooled, but the lesson remained sharp. In waters where law, politics, and pride collide, the difference between a standoff and a firefight can be measured in minutes and miles. As the sun dropped lower over the Caribbean horizon, sailors on the Gravely leaned against the rails, eyes scanning the Venezuelan ship now faint against the glare. The confrontation had passed, but the message lingered. The game of nerves was far from over. The Caribbean had become another arena in the global contest of presence and perception, and the USS Gravely had just played its part. By sunset on September 25th, the USS Gravely pressed on with its patrol, steady at 15 knots. The Venezuelan patrol ship had dropped back, trailing from a safe distance. Its aggression tempered, but its presence undeniable. What had begun as a green blip on a radar screen ended as a quiet standoff written into the ship's log. No shots fired, no collisions, just 2 warships measuring resolve on open water. But for the crew, it was anything but routine. Every minute had carried the possibility of disaster. For Washington, the incident was already being dissected in real time. Intelligence officers reviewed Seahawk footage frame by frame, cataloging radar sweeps, hull numbers, even gestures from Venezuelan deckhands. The Pentagon knew such encounters weren't about who carried more firepower. They were about perception, restraint balanced against deterrence. In the modern Caribbean, where smuggling routes, geopolitics, and sovereignty collide, a single close pass could set off consequences far beyond the horizon. In Caracas, the state media would spin the event as proof of vigilance. Our Navy defended sovereignty, the broadcast would claim, leaving out that the U.S. destroyer never strayed into Venezuelan waters. For the sailors aboard the patrol ship, it was a mission completed. They had tested the Americans and returned intact. For the U.S. Navy, it was another demonstration that discipline was the strongest weapon. By logging every second, the Gravely had transformed a tense encounter into a case study of professionalism. And yet, beneath the surface calm, the risks endure. Every time Venezuelan patrols push close, every time a jet roars low over a destroyer's deck, the danger grows. A misread maneuver, a radar lock, or even a sudden swell could spark an incident neither side intends. The September 25th standoff ended without escalation, but it underscored a hard truth. The Caribbean is no longer just a backdrop for smugglers and fishing disputes. It has become another front line in the global contest of presence and power. And the USS Gravely has proven once more that the difference between war and peace is often measured in miles, minutes, and the discipline of those who stand the watch.